Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the man the world once feared, the man many labeled as a tyrant, a showman, a manipulator of the masses, now stands with his hand stretched toward the very people his past seemed to push away? Muslims, yes. The same Muslims who were once on the other side of the wall he swore to build, now find themselves at the center of a new message. A message that echoes with peace, love, and partnership. But the only question that truly matters is this: is it real, or is it a trap so well designed that even truth itself might get caught inside it? Because I've seen things in my time. I've walked in rooms filled with snakes dressed in silk, and I've heard speeches that made angels weep, only to discover the devil behind the curtain. So when Donald Trump, yes, the same Donald who once said things the world still hasn't forgotten, now stands in front of cameras, smiling beside imams, praising mosques, calling the Quran a powerful book, we got to ask ourselves, what changed? Did his heart melt, or did the world shift beneath his feet so hard that even a man like Trump had to change his tune? Or is he playing the oldest game in the book, deception? Now, I'm not here to accuse, not here to defend. I'm here to think, to feel, to push your mind beyond the noise, because when power meets faith, history gets rewritten in either gold or blood. And right now, it's your job to decide which ink is being used, because Trump didn't just wake up one morning with a new love song for Muslims. Oh no, that man calculates every word, every handshake, every smile. So when he says, I love the Muslims, we got to rewind the tape. We got to dig into the silence behind those words, into the quiet rooms where real deals are made, where cameras don't go and intentions whisper louder than speeches. Because my brothers and sisters, this ain't just politics. This is survival wrapped in strategy. And while some of you might clap and say, finally, the man sees us, I'm asking you, what does he see? Votes, power, or redemption? Because redemption doesn't come cheap, especially when you've stood on podiums preaching division and now you preach unity. It's either the greatest transformation in modern history or the most dangerous illusion crafted by a master of show. And I've played characters who lie with a smile so clean it makes truth look dirty. And I'll tell you this. Real change doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up in actions, in sacrifices, in tears that don't fall in front of the press, but behind closed doors when no one's watching. So tell me, has Trump shed those tears, or is this just another script he's reading to win the next act of his legacy? And legacy, my friends, is what every powerful man chases in the end. Not money, not praise, but legacy, how the world will speak his name when he's gone. And Trump knows this. He knows that standing with Muslims now might paint his name in a light no one expected, the same way a villain flips the script in the final chapter and walks out a hero. But ask yourself, is the script flipped, or is it flipped back again? Because history doesn't forget, it only waits for truth to rise through the fog. And if you believe in your worth, if you believe in your faith, then don't just welcome the words, watch the actions. Test the fire behind the smile, because we've been fooled before by kings and presidents, by friends and enemies, and every time we wanted peace, someone sold it to us wrapped in chains. So stand strong, not in hate, but in wisdom, because if Donald Trump truly loves the Muslims, then let it be known in the broken refugee camps, in the prisons where innocent men still wait for justice, in the streets where hijabs are pulled and prayers are feared, because love is not a speech. It is a sacrifice, a commitment, a protection of those who can't protect themselves. And if he is that man now, if he has truly changed, then let the world see it, not in photo apps, but in policies, not in handshakes, but in shelter, not in praise, but in protection. And until the storm clears and the mask drops, stay awake, stay wise, and never trade your soul for the sound of applause, because the most dangerous enemy is the one who looks like a friend while holding a knife behind his back. And this isn't about hate. This isn't about revenge. This is about survival, clarity, truth, And if you've ever been betrayed, you know that betrayal always starts with a smile. So don't hate him, don't curse him, but don't sleep either, because this is the age of deception. And your mind is your last line of defense. Because the world we live in doesn't forgive ignorance anymore, not when truth is available at the tap of a finger and yet still hidden behind curated lies. Because somewhere between what is said and what is done lies a dangerous battlefield where perception becomes weapon. And if you think this is just politics, you've already lost, because this is chess with souls on the board. And when Donald Trump says he wants to build bridges instead of walls, you gotta ask, what's beneath the bridge and who's waiting on the other side? Because trust isn't built with tweets and press releases. It's built in the trenches where Muslims have bled, where they've been denied visas, labeled threats, families torn apart like pages from a forgotten book. And now you're telling me the author wants to rewrite the ending? Well, I say let him write, but we're going to read every word, every comma, every pause, because if you think you can erase pain with a press conference, then you've never met a mother who lost her son to war disguised as policy. And I don't care how many flags you wave, how many languages you quote, love without justice is just performance. And we've seen enough shows. We've clapped for the wrong heroes before. We've trusted handshakes that ended in heartbreak. So this time we move different, we stand different, not in rage, but in awareness, not in silence, but in stillness, so sharp it cuts through lies like sunlight through fog. Because here's the truth. Real love does not appear when elections approach. It appears in the shadows, when cameras are off, when no one is watching. And if this is love, then let it defend the voiceless, not exploit them. Let it lift the poor, not promise and forget. Let it protect mosques the way it protects banks and borders. And if Donald Trump is serious, truly serious, then let him go beyond the stage and into the fire where real change burns, where faith is more than a prop and Muslims are more than a demographic to court. Because we remember, yes, we remember the travel bans, the silence after attacks, the smiles that didn't reach the eyes, and we forgive, but we do not forget, not because we carry hate, but because memory is our armor. It's how we survived empires, invasions, and lies dressed as peace. So if this is redemption, let it cost him something, because real repentance always does. And if his heart has turned, then let it beat for the broken, for the displaced, for the ones praying in fear in places they once called home. And let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, if a man as powerful as Trump truly embraces the Muslim community with sincerity, then history will write a chapter so unexpected it might shake the very core of this century. But until that chapter is written in deeds and not words, in sacrifice and not speeches, we remain grounded, we remain firm, because trust is not given, it's earned through time, tested through fire, proven through action. And right now, all we have are promises made under lights that flatter the face but never expose the truth behind the eyes. And I looked into eyes before that, smiled while planning storms. I've stood in rooms where words meant everything and nothing at the same time, and I've learned that power always speaks in layered tones. So you better listen with your soul, not just your ears. Because when a man tells you what you want to hear, ask yourself what he wants in return. And when he shows you love, ask if he showed it before or only now, when the wind has changed. Because the winds don't lie, people do. And the wind right now is shifting. Elections are coming, the global order is shaking, and suddenly the faith once misunderstood is now embraced. But is it embraced because it is loved or because it is needed? And that, my friends, is the question that changes everything. And if you don't ask it, someone else will answer it for you, with headlines, with agendas, with illusions so real they feel like truth. And when that happens, it's too late. So rise up, not with fists, but with focus, not with anger, but with awareness. Because in this game, your peace is the greatest threat to their power, your clarity the greatest. weapon. And if you want to know what's real, don't listen to the applause. Watch the quiet moments, the decisions made when no one is looking, because that's where truth lives. And if Donald Trump walks into that silence and still chooses to stand with Muslims, not just in front of cameras, but in front of God, not just in sound bites, but in struggle, then yes, perhaps this is real. But if not, then the greatest danger is not the man himself, but the illusion of love sold as strategy. And if we fall for it, we risk everything, because a people who forget their pain are destined to repeat it. And I don't want you to repeat it. I want you to rise above it, to remember with honor, to forgive with power, but to never trade your future for a handshake you didn't ask for. Because greatness lies not in who accepts you, but in knowing who you are before they do. So walk tall, Muslims, walk wise, not because he says you matter, but because you always did. Because when the world claps too soon, you got to ask yourself, who's behind the curtain pulling the strings? And if you think this sudden wave of kindness, these handshakes and smiles, these speeches with softened tones are born from love, you better ask love what it really looks like. Because love doesn't arrive dressed in strategy. Love doesn't wait for polls to shift. Love doesn't hide behind lawyers and policies, only to step forward when the stage is right. No, ladies and gentlemen, real love shows up when it's hardest, when it cost you everything, and when the fire was burning through Muslim homes, through identities, through hopes. Love was missing from the podium, nowhere in sight. When walls went up and hearts shut down, and now when the dust begins to settle, when the vote becomes gold again, suddenly there's room at the table. But we're not hungry for performance, we're starving for justice. And justice doesn't wear a red tie or give press conferences. Justice is quiet. Justice is consistent. Justice is not a campaign, it's a commitment. And we've seen too many commitments broken in the name of national security, too many names erased, too many prayers interrupted. So when a man like Trump extends a hand, you better ask what's in the other hand, because the same voice that once banned entry is now reciting peace. The same platform that divided is now preaching unity, but if you listen close, you'll hear the echoes of the past. And in those echoes are the screams of forgotten families, the tears of children at airports, the shattered dreams of those who believed once and were turned away twice. So this time, we do not believe in words. We believe in patterns, and patterns don't lie. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, maybe people change. Maybe hearts transform. Maybe the man who once shouted now listens. But change, real change, is more than a quote on a stage. It's repentance. It's reparation. It's action without expectation. And if that change is real, if his love for Muslims is genuine, then it will not need to be proven through photo ops. It will prove itself in the mosques protected, in the policies retracted, in the nations respected. Because Muslims don't need sympathy, they need equity. Don't need applause, they need rights. Don't need validation, they need space to be who they are without fear. And if Donald Trump is ready to give that space, not as a gift, but as a correction to what was wronged, then maybe, just maybe, we have a turning point in history. But until then, we watch with clear eyes, hearts open but guarded, because we've danced with hope before and found betrayal waiting at the end of the music. And let me tell you, betrayal that wears kindness as a mask is the deadliest kind. And the most dangerous lie is the one that slips past the guards, because that's the lie that slips past the guards, gets welcomed into your home and rewrites your truth while you're still applauding. And I'm not here to tell you to hate. I'm here to tell you to see, to look beyond the stage lights, beyond the applause, beyond the timing of the message, because timing is everything. And if love appears only when it's convenient, then it was never love. It was leverage. And the Muslim world has been used for leverage too many times, sold in deals made behind closed doors, traded in oil. in arms, in silence. But no more, not now, because the world is watching. And the Muslims of today are not the Muslims of yesterday. They're educated, they're united, they're awake, and they know the value of their voice. And if someone wants their trust, they will have to earn it, not with words, but with wounds healed, not with promises, but with prisons emptied, not with flags waved, but with families reunited, because trust rebuilt is a fortress, and once it stands, it doesn't fall easy again. And that's what I want for you. I want you to rise, not in reaction, but in revelation, to realize your strength, your truth, your resilience. Because for too long they told you who you were through their headlines, through their borders, through their judgment. But now is the time to tell your own story, to write your own verse, to stand not because someone finally said you could, but because you always could. And this moment, this strange moment where former enemies smile and call you friend, this is your test to see if you remember, to see if you fall for the same old illusion painted in new color, or if you finally walk with vision, not vengeance, with faith, not fear, because this isn't just about Donald Trump. This is about recognizing when history tries to repeat itself wearing a different face and saying, not this time, not with my people, not with our hearts, because we have awakened from the slumber. We have cried enough, prayed enough, fought enough, and now we stand, not waiting for validation, but walking in our own light. And if they want to join, they are welcome, but we will not shrink for their comfort or trade our dignity for their approval, because we were never meant to beg for love. We were meant to lead with it, to shine through the lies, to stand through the storms. And I say this now with every breath of conviction, ladies and gentlemen, if this love is real, it will hold when the polls drop. It will speak when the crowd turns. It will fight when the cameras stop. And if it doesn't, then it was never love, just another game in a long line of games played on the backs of the faithful. And I don't know about you, but I'm done playing